Hello, everybody. Welcome to a daily dose of the Bible. We are reading Mark right now. Mark just kind of gets right into it. It's a little bit shorter than Matthew anyway. I think there's like 16 chapters and Matthew had like 28 or so. Anyway, Mark is already talking about in chapter 5 Jesus' mission, Jesus's ministry. The Pharisees are plotting to try to kill him right away. They want to arrest him and get rid of him. He's too real, too truthful. And he's taken their authority. All of these people are following Jesus and watching what he's doing and seeing that he's real and he has authority from the Lord. And the way he speaks is just so educating and authoritative. That's something that everybody said a lot was, he speaks with such authority, and where does your authority come from? And that's part of how you can really tell that he means what he says, is by the way that he says it and how he puts it. So in chapter 5, it's going to start with Jesus healing a demon-possessed man. So they arrived on the other side of the lake, in the region of the Gerasenes, okay, or Gerasenes. When Jesus climbed out of the boat, which the last thing that happened was they were crossing and there was the big storm. When Jesus climbed out of the boat, a man possessed by an evil spirit came out from the cemetery to meet him. This man lived among the burial caves and could no longer be restrained, even with a chain. Whenever he was put into chains and shackles, as often as he was, he snapped the chains from his wrists and smashed the shackles. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Day and night he wandered among the burial caves and in the hills, howling and cutting himself with sharp stones. When Jesus was still some distance away, the man saw him, ran to meet him, and bowed low before him. With a shriek, he screamed, "Why are you interfering with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In the name of God, I beg you, don't torture me." For Jesus already said to the spirit, "Come out of the man, you evil spirit." Then Jesus demanded, "What is your name?" And he replied, "My name is Legion." "My name is Legion because there are many of us in this man." Then the evil spirits begged him again and again not to send them to some distant place. There happened to be a large herd of pigs feeding on the hillside nearby. "Send us into those pigs," the spirits begged. "Let us enter them." So Jesus gave them permission. The evil spirits came out of the man and entered the pigs, and the entire herd of 2,000 pigs plunged down the steep hillside into the lake and drowned in the water. The herdsmen fled to the nearby town and surrounding countryside, spreading the news as they ran. People rushed out to see what had happened. A crowd soon gathered around Jesus, and they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons. He was sitting there, fully clothed and perfectly sane, and they were all afraid. Then those who had seen what happened told the others about the demon-possessed man and the pigs. The crowd began pleading with Jesus to go away and leave them alone. As Jesus was getting in the boat, the man who had been possessed begged to go with him, but Jesus said, "No, go to your family and tell them everything the Lord has done for you and how merciful he has been." So the man started off to visit the 10 towns of that region and began to proclaim the great things Jesus had done for him. Everyone was amazed at what he told them. This is I remember this story from when I was a child. It's one of the classic, it's kind of a scary story in the Bible in a way, demon-possessed man, and he's cutting himself and living up in the graves and howling and just, totally miserable and mentally ill and being tortured. I don't know, what demons, are like back then. I feel like nowadays we still obviously have demons, and they do definitely torture us. I know people who are tortured by the demon of alcohol, mental illness, and mental illness is an illness, but it can also be a torturing demon in a way, things that we just can't seem to help ourselves. You know, those seem to be things we're possessed with, you know, things we can't get over ourselves. And he's out there breaking every chain they chain him with, and you know, smashing the shackles and running around cutting himself. And they're probably pretty afraid of, you know, if he comes into the city. And you know, it's amazing that the demons all knew Jesus right away. And this one thing that always boggled me about this story, why doesn't he just send them far away? Why doesn't he just send them back to hell? Or, you know, why does he allow them to go into these pigs? And then 2,000 pigs jump off the cliff, and everyone's amazed, but I think also they're kind of angry with him for, you know, that's a pretty good amount of bacon there or whatever. I mean, I guess they probably couldn't eat it. Anyway, it was a lot of pigs, and whatever they did with them, you know, their livestock is ruined, and they can pretty much point to Jesus and say he did it. You know, he will set us free from our demons, and it can be just as simple as that, you know, that you just, I mean, it is just as simple as that. You ask and he'll set you free. And there might be, you know, some steps to get free, but he's going to help you through that. You know, the main thing is asking him for help, and then he'll show you every step of the way once you listen for what he tells you. Just like this man here, you know, he wants to get in the boat. He wants to be part of the crew. He wants to, you know, come along and drop everything to follow Jesus. And, well, I mean, I'm sure he didn't have a lot to start with, but he did have, you know, certainly some family or something. And perhaps not, but Jesus says, go to your family and tell them what the Lord has done for you and how merciful he has been. Start the evangelism here. Start in your home, in your city. Just whoever you know, go tell them what God has done for you, and they'll be amazed, and people will trust and believe because of that. The next section is Jesus healing in response to faith. So, you know, like most of his ministry, so much of it, he was healing people, just healing. And then he told some parables, and then he, you know, he fed them, and then he told the parables. He cared so much that they cared what he had to say. So here's someone with great faith will be healed. Jesus got into the boat again and went back to the other side of the lake, where a large crowd gathered around him on the shore. Then the leader of the synagogue, whose name was Jairus, arrived. When he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet, pleading fervently with him. My little daughter is dying, he said. Please come and lay hands on her. Heal her so she can live. Jesus went with him. Excuse me. And all the people followed, crowding around him. A woman who had been suffering for 12 years with constant bleeding. She suffered a great deal from many doctors, and over the years she had spent everything she had to pay them, but she had gotten no better. In fact, she had gotten worse. She had heard about Jesus, so she came behind through the crowd and touched his robe. She thought to herself, if I can just touch his robe, I will be healed. Immediately the bleeding stopped. She could feel in her body that she had been healed of her terrible condition. Jesus realized at once that the healing power had gone out from him, so he turned around and asked, Who touched my robe? His disciples said to him, Look, the crowd is pressing around you. How can you ask who touched me? But he kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the frightened woman, trembling at the realization of what had happened to her, came and fell to her knees in front of him and told him what she had done. And he said to her, Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace, your suffering is over." While he was still speaking to her, messengers arrived from the home of Jairus, the leader of the synagogue. They told him, "Your daughter is dead. There's no use troubling the teacher now." But Jesus overheard them and said to Jairus, "Don't be afraid, just have faith." Then Jesus stopped the crowd and then wouldn't let anyone go with him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. And when they came to the home of the synagogue, Jesus saw much commotion and weeping and wailing. He went inside and asked, "Why is all this commotion and weeping? The child isn't dead, she's only asleep." The crowd laughed at him, but he made them all leave. And he took the girl's father and mother and his 3 disciples into the room where the girl was laying. Holding her up, he said, "Talitha koum," which means, "Little girl, get up." And the girl, who was 12 years old, immediately stood up and walked around. They were overwhelmed and amazed. Cheapers. Jesus gave them strict orders not to tell anyone what happened, and then he told them to give her something to eat. So, here's 2 examples of people being healed by faith. That woman who just, reached out and touched him. And the suffering that, she knew he could alleviate. It's just amazing that, just one touch of his cloak, I think it was because she felt that it would work, there was plenty of people touching his cloak who were not being affected, but she was touching him with the express idea that if I simply touch his cloak, I'll be healed of this thing that I've dealt with my whole life. That's the kind of faith that he asks, is just understand that anything that you need, reach out and touch him, and he'll touch you right back. And you might not need the things that you think you need. Maybe it's a different kind of healing than you were hoping for. Maybe it's just the strength to get through whatever it is that's plaguing you in this life, because this life is temporary and quick, and it's a test and a trial by fire. We want to persevere and have that faith that, that we know that that he can heal us, that he will help us, and that we don't need to fear. That's the biggest thing, is just to not fear what lies ahead, or to not fear other people. And, the crowd's laughing at Jesus. They think you're crazy. You can't possibly. And he says, "Get out of here." And he takes a little group and he goes in there and tells her to get up. And that's just amazing to me, That's the God that he is. He cares for everyone. He wants us to be healed. And all we have to do is turn around and ask him. I think it's weird that he tells these people not to tell anyone. And he's still maybe not ready for his mission to, that his ministry or whatever, to blow up, But it has already. People are flocking to him from the moment he spoke in the temple that day. I don't know if this is even that was even in here, when he says, the light has come, or something like that. I'm the one you've been waiting for. I'm here to heal the sick and the poor. And that doesn't just mean people who don't have any money, or people who are laying in the hospital. We're all sick and poor. And anybody who realizes that, you're blessed. That's the heart of the kingdom of God. We are all so poor and broken and sick. Without the purpose of God in our lives, it's just going to feel that way. When he comes into your life and you start focusing on the things of the kingdom of heaven, he heals you. He makes you feel on top of the world. Whether you have no money, whether you're riddled with cancer, He can make any situation into a heavenly moment, a wonderful time, and a great life from just the crummiest circumstances. All we have to do is trust Him, read His Word, and follow what He tells us to do. And everything becomes simple. Strangely dim is a phrase that is used in the Bible. I believe the things of this world pale in comparison to the things that He will give you and show you and teach you. So I just pray that you'll take that as a cornerstone foundation, build upon this solid rock here. God has plans for you, and they are plans to prosper and not for disaster. Just keep on trucking and race that race to the finish.